Hello everyone, welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Give me those thumbs up. Let me know the sound is loud and clear, and then let's get started. Give me those thumbs up, please. Let me know that the sound is loud and clear. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Jiu-Jitsu. We're going to be nerding out on Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu geeks unite. All right, Azmi Al-Hassani, thank you very much. Salam alaikum to all of you. Ahmad Navad, thank you very, very much. Muhammad Egze, thank you. Dogs who out left, what? Loud and clear. Thank you guys. All right, guys, thank you very much. Welcome to this episode. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about back control. We're going to be nerding out about how to control the back. So if you're into jiu-jitsu or wrestling or MMA, this is a great episode for you. If you're not interested in that stuff, you might want to leave till or come back a little bit later. After that, we're going to open it up to absolutely any other topic. But today's topic, as usual, whenever I release a new video, I always start with that subject for my podcast. Okay, so today I'm releasing a video. I just released it live now on jujiclub.com. Back control, my volume 1 of Control Freak. How to become a control freak. When you get the back, you either get a sub or you control your partner for the remainder of the time. There is no other option. Escape should be impossible. Why? Because the man on the back has more leverage. He has more tools. He has all the advantages. If he loses control, it's because his jiu-jitsu is not tight. He was missing something. Now, I lose back control sometimes, and that's because something went wrong. How could I lose the position if I have all the leverage? I did something wrong. So 20 years of figuring out what did I do wrong? How did the guy get out? Is culminating in volume 1 of Control Freak. Now I have some good news for you all. You guys last week or a couple of weeks ago helped me out immensely. I got into a little tangle with the police. I called on you guys. A video went viral. I took it down. So many of you who you haven't seen the video, it's down. Okay, don't bother looking for it. Many of you came to my aid. So what did I do? For this one day, this special ends tomorrow at midnight. You have from now till tomorrow, so you have about a day and a half. You get 40% off. Button pusher 40. It's on your screen. I'm never going to do 40% again, unless you guys save me again. But this is, normally I give you guys $5 off. Today I'm giving 40% off. Why? Because you guys helped me out so much. You guys know the story. I'm not going to go over it. Okay, let's not get all sentimental. But you guys are really, you came up big for coach. You came up real big. You button pushers did a good job. And I never thought I'd be saved by a button pusher. But here I am thanking the button pushers, which I have a newfound respect for. I always love the button pushers, but now I have a newfound respect. And I want to thank you all. Button pusher 40. Use it. It expires tomorrow. After that, it's Control Freak 5. We're back to the $5 discount. Okay, now here's the other good news. You guys can now stream the video. You can buy any Juju Club video. Make an account. I got my guys who made it happen. You buy the video. You don't have to download it. The video is yours for life. You can download it. You're allowed to download it. But if you're like me and you don't have enough space on your hard drive and you know all these things, too much on my computer, just stream it. Log in and stream it. It's yours for life. You can watch it as many times as you want. Now, this video is 1 hour long. Normally, my videos are 40 minutes long. This one is 1 hour long. It's packed with control, how to control a man, how to set up a choke. You get the back, you control him. Now, I'm going to be doing volume 2 shortly. Okay, so look for the Control Freak series to continue. I'm all about control. You get a dominant position and you maintain it. You can only trade it for a superior position or one of equal value. Okay, with that said, guys, please don't forget, I'm not doing button pusher 40 after tomorrow. Okay, that's it. Don't message me after, ask me for button pusher 40. I missed your podcast course. I missed it. Today, please, button pusher 40. Put it in the promo code. You get 40% off. Buy 3, 4, 5 videos. You get 40% off every instructional. Go for it. Enjoy. Okay, guys, now I'm opening it up only to back control. Let's talk jiu-jitsu, wrestling, taking the back. And then we can talk about absolutely anything. That's why we call it AMA, and ask me anything. But at first, I know there's a lot of guys out there who want to talk about a million other topics, but not today, okay? Today we're talking about back control. Let's talk about back control. When you get the back, is the back the greatest position in jiu-jitsu? In my opinion, yes, it's superior to the mount. 20 years ago, we used to debate, what's better, mount or back, mount or back? You know what? I've seen a lot of guys get out of mount. I used to think they were equal. That's what they used to teach us. Now I think, no, they're not equal. I'll tell you why. There are some guys in jiu-jitsu I am scared to mount. Why? Because the leg lockers have gotten so good at what John Danaher popularized as a kipping escape. There's a type of escape popularized by a man named John Danaher. Many of you know who he is. He's the greatest grappling coach alive today. And after he revolutionized jiu-jitsu with this one escape called the kipping escape, you can mount a guy, which, by the way, I don't recommend you mount a Danaher death squad guy. Don't mount him. If you know, they do something called the possum guard. They just lay there flat and they ask you to mount. Basically they're begging you to mount them. And if you mount them, they're just like gonna leg lock you very easily. They're gonna go kipping escape, and from the kipping escape, they're in your legs, and from your legs, they're gonna get to your ankle. Okay, so I'm very scared of mounting them. I would only mount them if I have an underhook or a control, a one-on-one control. Like, I need a specific type of control to mount a guy who's so great at kipping. And of course, he has to be a great leg locker as well. That said, it's very hard for a leg lock master to leg lock me if I have his back. Now, there are some leg locks, but they're weak. In my opinion, they're weak. You rarely ever see them. I haven't been caught in one of them in my entire career. I've never been, I think maybe once when I was like, one time I was a blue belt, I was in a tournament and I took somebody's back and he crossed my ankles and he trapped me in a lock and he almost subbed me, but he didn't sub me. I ended up winning, but he hurt my ankles. Those things, the counters to those weak ankle locks from when I have your back and you're trying to ankle lock me, so I'm trying to choke you and you're trying to ankle lock me, they're weak, man. You show me one instance where it works. You won't find it. You're going to have to look deep and you're going to find like it's a low level fight. It's so rare that they work. Now, will it work in the future? Of course. One day, some guy's going to put his feet the wrong way and somebody's going to tap him and we're going to be like, hey, coach, see, it works. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's so unlikely. It's so weak from there. However, how many videos do we have of a guy getting mounted? And from mount, I'm in mount on you and you leg lock me? We have plenty of footage of that. Okay, so in my opinion, the debate now is swung in the favor of back control. Back control is without a doubt superior to mount. Mount is great. Mount is a great position, especially in MMA. But I would have to say that the king of all control positions is the back. That's why I started my Control Freak series with back control, the most important and most powerful position. The ultimate goal is to get to the back. If I'm fighting somebody, you know, it's funny. I was just wrestling in the U.S. Rolling, and I was rolling with a guy who was a 205er pro, strong as like an ox, and I spent the vast majority of the match on his back. You know why? Because that was the safest place. I don't care how strong he is. I'm on his back. I don't care how explosive he is. I'm on his back. It's the safest way to beat somebody who has superior physical attributes than you. If they're stronger, if they have a greater reach, if they're explosive, if they have better cardio, all that doesn't matter if I have your back. If I have your back, it doesn't matter. If we're standing up on our feet, it matters. If you're on top of me, all that matters. If I'm on your back, that stuff is really not that important anymore. Of course, it still counts, but now I can go for the kill and you pretty much have nothing to do but escape. So at most you're going to draw with me. You won't beat me from me controlling your back. You might, the most you can do is draw. Bring yourself back to a neutral position. All right, guys, that's my overview of the back control. That's why it's so important. And I want to hear you guys, what you guys have to say. I love Danaher's back system. That's from Abdur Rahman Khan. Absolutely. John Danaher's back system is amazing. Okay. Now, in my video, I went a different direction. I did different things because there's so much to back. Back control is there's so much, you know. I focus more on control. I focus more on how to stop somebody from escaping your back mount. Okay. Your back control. Let's see here. Do you like trapping arms from back mount? That's from Lars Ziebert. Yes, absolutely. I do control the arms. Absolutely. Now, John is a big believer in putting a triangle around your neck. Okay, and on this video, and I do that kind of stuff. I stayed away from that. Okay, why? I only like to do that when the guy sinks down in my guard. I'm not the type of guy who has super long legs, who's always wrapping triangles nonstop. Okay, I'm not the type of guy. Excuse me, guys. I'm a bit clumsy here. I'm the type of guy where I trap your arms using my legs in a very different way. I use something, a clamp system. Okay, you guys are going to see it in the video. I cover the clamp system, the crucifix. I put you in a crucifix from the back. I don't wrap my legs around your neck as often. I only do it in one circumstance. I'll tell you why. For years, I tried climbing my legs up around your neck, over your arm, and then over your shoulder and locking my triangle. What happens to guys with my attributes? Oftentimes, when I climb my legs up like that, I'm just giving the guy a way to escape. Where I had full control, and all of a sudden I went for the kill. And when you go for the kill, when you go for the sub, you're risking some control. It's just a given. Okay, so if I'm mounted on you and I go for the armbar, I'm giving up. There's a little window there where the guy can slip his arm out. There's a little window there as you're transitioning from mount to armbar where things get a little bit loose, right? When you transition, you have to let go and reach for another grip. As you're reaching, there's always that little space where the guy can, if the guy's experienced on the bottom, he knows as you're reaching, he's going to slide out. Now, of course, when we reach, we're always trying to be compact and take away any amount of space. The guy with the advantage wants to eliminate space, of course. The guy with the disadvantage wants to create space. But as you're creeping to one position to another, as you're transitioning, it's a given. There's a little bit of space, and that little space, I could lose control. Now, I feel that when I close my triangle above the arm and shoulder and neck, I find I create, yes, I'm going for the kill. Yes, I might finish the guy, but also he might escape. Okay, so I find I do use it, but only when he's putting himself in the triangle. I won't go and actively put you in a triangle. I throw my leg over your arm. Yes, I do. Okay, absolutely I do. And if you sink down, I lock the triangle. If you don't sink down, I don't climb up and start climbing on your neck. I find it's too much work on my legs. Okay. Coach, my feet and legs get trapped underneath my opponents when I lose the submission. I can't get out. Check out the video, okay? I talk about how to organize your legs. And first thing is how to organize your arms once you trap your partner's back. Again, guys, my style of instructional, okay, I use the pen. I'm very Madden-like. You know, I give you guys a quick overview. But mine, it's straight to the point. It's 60 minutes long. It's 59 minutes long. Okay, I'm rounding up to 60 here. I was missing 1 minute. It's non-stop information. You have to watch it 4 or 5 times. You don't watch the whole thing necessarily. You watch the first 3 moves, you take notes, you think about it, you go and you try it on the mat, then you go watch the next 4 or 5 moves. And you go through that back situation over and over again. Then you forget one piece, you go back to the video, and then you kind of put your game together. But this video, one advantage of my type of videos is you could watch it with the sound off. Like you could be watching a movie and kind of keep an eye. The arrows will explain everything. It's pretty much arrows, dots, X's, and O's. Okay, the O's, I'm circling this area. Look at this particular area. And that's what the coach is trying to talk about. It's very X's and O's. Talk about football. You know how they draw with X's and O's, and the X goes this way, and the receiver's this way. And that's what I mean by X's and O's. I'm drawing literally on the screen. Okay, if you've never seen my type of instructional, that's what I do. It's very, very quick, concise, to the point. 1 hour instructional is like, I would say it's like a 4-hour seminar. Like if I gave a 4-hour seminar, that's the amount of content you'd have in 1 hour. That's what I would have showed you, because the content, there's a lot of content in 1 hour. It's not 8 1-hour videos. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing 1 video, but it's every second is information. Every second, okay? What else we got here? Hooks versus triangles. That's from Kia. Listen, I love triangle. That's volume 2 coming out. Hooks is volume 1. Why? Because I cannot always, there is some triangling. Don't get me wrong. I go over something called the zip tie. There is a triangle. I love the triangle. If I'm in a hard fight and I get the guy's back, I like to close the triangle. But the thing is, I don't always get to close a triangle. So I feel you have to learn hooks first and then triangle. Triangle is like, okay, it's a luxury. The guy made a mistake. He didn't prevent me from closing the triangle. I got the guy. But that usually is a guy who's not as experienced. Or I caught him in transition. Generally, when I put my hooks in, the guy is going to be escaping so quickly, I won't have time to close a triangle. He should be already stripping my hooks. He should already be moving his head to the opposite side. Like if the guy is really good at escapes, you're not going to easily get a triangle. Okay, so my video is presupposing that the guy I'm fighting is really good. Next video, I'm in the second volume of Control Freak, Back Control. There will be close triangles. There will be, definitely, because I'm a huge believer. And there are a lot of details about close triangle. However, close triangle is not always possible. A, the guy's really, really good. He's never going to let you get that far. Or 2, the guy has a huge waist. Sometimes the guy's, let's say you're fighting somebody really big, thick, and fat, you know, maybe the guy's got a good big belly. You won't be able to close your triangle around them. So you better know how to work with your feet open. Okay, so hooks, as you say. Coach, do you teach white belts leg locks in the gi? I train a good gym with great competitors in BJJ and MMA, and I've never learned any leg locks or those positions as a white belt. Thanks a lot. Ryan, I would show white belts more a straight foot lock. So I'm assuming you're talking about foot lock, not heel hooks, straight foot locks. I do because I believe it's also a control. I believe that when I'm falling in an ashigurami position, a leg lock position, my legs are controlling your legs. Think of like a double guard pull, okay? Whenever we're in ashigurami position, whether I'm going for the leg lock or not, it doesn't matter. I'm teaching you guard. You're using your legs to control your opponent, okay? So it's very good to teach leg locks. Because for me, leg locks is part of the guard. I believe in teaching guard. Past the guard, and so top position in guard and bottom position. That should be 80% of your training. And that includes all the ashiguramis. And ashiguramis, there are leg locks. Now, you're talking about the finishes. Well, if you're a white belt, I would teach you more, and especially you're talking about the gi, I would teach you more estima lock, straight foot locks. Why? Because yes, they may fail, but they're control that leads to sweeps. To me getting on top of you. I'm a big believer in that. I believe it's crazy that IBJJF, thank God now they do allow leg locks now. Things have changed. But it was crazy. I felt they make Jiu-Jitsu weaker. Like if Jiu-Jitsu had leg locks, if Jiu-Jitsu had the adopted John's way of thinking, John Danaher's way of thinking, when it started, and stayed with it. Because, you know, originally, for those of you who are more new to Jiu-Jitsu, not only were leg locks illegal in most tournaments, it was frowned upon. You're like, they would call you like a zapatiero, like a shoe boy. You know, a shoe boy. You're going for the feet. Like that means you don't know anything. You're so foolish. You're just so bad. You have no hope of passing guard. So what do? You do the cheap man's attack. You drop back to a foot lock. Now, look, 20 years later, we're like, dude, that's such a bad way to think. Number one, leg locks are beyond detailed. Okay, in my opinion, leg locks is the most complicated part of jiu-jitsu. So before it was like, oh, that's so easy. You just grab the foot and squeeze it. No, that's so wrong, man. Leg locks are super detailed. They're so intricate. There's so many pieces. There's so many things you have to get right that I feel like I can overwhelm a white belt. So I would show you like only the basic, you know, straight foot lock and estima lock. Things that are more simple, because when you get to purple belt, brown belt, and black belt, now you have to know the leg locks, guys. Because I tell you, I see so many brown belts get their ass kicked, or black belts get their ass kicked by a lesser belt, because that brown belt and black belt didn't know leg locks. And this new generation of fighters, they're leg lockers, or they have a good, healthy amount of leg locking ability. So they go in the match, and yes, the black belt is better than them in past the guard. The black belt is better than them in sweeping, but he gets swept, and eventually, and the black belt is dominating this new age purple belt, but the purple belt eventually gets to his foot and taps him. I've seen it so many times, it's insane. Because yes, I can pass your guard. You're a purple belt. Yes, you're purple belt. I'm gonna sweep you if you get on top of me. I'm gonna delahiva you. Okay, you're missing. You're a purple belt. That's why you're a purple belt. You're not as good as me. You're not as seasoned, but because you have those leg locks, and the old generation of black belts, they don't know how to defend leg locks very well. Their defense is so-so. Unless you have a very flexible foot, like I've seen black belts, old school black belts, get out of leg locks, not because their technique was so pristine, but because their foot is very hard to, it's very flexible. Like they have a dexterity to them, because I couldn't get out the way he did, and that was a lot of torque and muscle and a lot of maybe Flintstones, you know. He's taking his vitamins, let's just say. It wasn't skill. He didn't get out with skill. He was a bigger, stronger, more vitamin induced athlete. And that's not how an average Joe should get out. A well-schooled average human being would get out. Now, old school jiu-jitsu, no leg locks. They get beat by lesser belts because they don't understand leg locks. Now, I'll tell you something. Sometimes I get tapped by a purple belt. It does happen, okay? And most of the time, it's leg lock. It's either leg lock or guillotine. I'll tell you why. Because it's very hard to get to the back on a black belt. It's so hard to pass their guard. And even if you do, for a blink of an eye, they'll put you back in the guard. Don't forget, they've been doing 10 years of jiu-jitsu, more like they've been doing 10 years of jiu-jitsu. They're well seasoned in defending themselves, obviously. So to pass his guard and keep his guard passed, and then turn him so I can get to his back, and then put my hooks in, and then even get to graduate to a rear naked choke, it's really difficult. I have to go through so many steps. But let's say he's playing guard, I could just dive on his foot. If he's trying to sweep me and he kind of shoots on me, I can grab his neck. Sometimes he gave me the neck. He gave me the foot. But it's rare they're going to give you Kimura. It's rare they just give you their arm. It's rare they're going to extend their arm. It's rare they're going to flop into a triangle. It's very rare they're going to turn their back to you. So getting to the triangle, the back, the Kimura, the armbar, these things take a lot of steps. So I have to beat your guard to get to that. Whereas leg locks and guillotine, I rarely have to beat your guard to get to that. I could have to beat your guard, but I don't really. It's not a prerequisite. So sometimes, you know, you're playing Del Hiva and I just jump over and I grab your neck. I love to do that. I just dive over and grab their neck. I don't want to deal with this guy's guard. This guy's guard is tight, man. This guy's super flexible. He's super well seasoned. He's more likely to spin underneath me than let me pass his guard. As soon as he moves, I'm just gonna dive over and grab his neck. Which I did a really nice video on jumping on the neck from a guard. You guys should check it out. It's in my it's on this channel somewhere. I'm gonna do probably a whole video on jumping on the neck. It's something I absolutely love to do, and it's a very tight game. It's a very, very tight game. It's a very strong way to pass somebody's guard whose guard is so difficult to pass. Let's just jump over it and get to the neck. With that said, leg locks for me, I feel that the old school guys have to do it intensive on leg locks. You know, you just gotta catch up. Leg locks are here. They're not going anywhere. Okay, we got another super chat here. Coach, I'm 19, wrestling from Iran national team veteran since I was 15. I usually get out wrestled by stronger BJJ guys. How can I overcome imposter syndrome as a young guy with UFC aspirations? Well, let me tell you something. If you're in Iran and you're on the national wrestling team since you were 15, that is incredibly, Zarak, that is incredibly impressive. Wrestling's the international sport in Iran, and Iranians are stud wrestlers. Like, I mean, they're another level of technique. You're telling me getting out wrestled by older, stronger BJJ guys? I find that incredibly hard to believe. Incredibly hard to believe. Like, I feel like you're almost trolling me here. Listen, just do more BJJ if that's the case, because your question doesn't make much sense. You shouldn't be getting out wrestled. I think what you mean is I'm getting out grappled. Well, you got to do exactly what you did to get to the top in wrestling. You got to do the same thing with Jiu-Jitsu. I think if you reach that level of wrestling, you have what it takes to reach it in Jiu-Jitsu. Jumping on neck video was crucial. That's from Taika YTT. You saw my video. Thank you for that shout out. I appreciate it. That video is tight. It's a good video. And guys, sometimes passing the guard is too tough. Why? Because some guys are so hard to pass. It's ridiculous. And even when I pass the guard, I finally, let's say I'm tired, man. You just put me through such an ordeal. Like, that was so much work. And I finally passed the guard and I locked in side control. I'm like, oh, I gotta get a breath. And then the guy reguards and I'm like, I gotta do it again. So I'm actually burning myself out. Sometimes it's better to get to the back or to the neck. So you can, okay, obviously it's always better to get the back. Okay, I'm stating the obvious. What I mean is sometimes instead of getting to side control, we have different tactics to try to expose the guy's back. And that's not always easy. What is, I find a lot easier is all the reguarding. Everything you do to regard exposes you to leg lock and guillotines. So what I do is I start passing the guard. I don't insist on passing the guard. I start the guard passing process. And when you defend, I attack your foot. When you defend the foot, I attack the pass. When you defend the pass, I jump on the neck. So I'm trying to create a dilemma. I'm not trying to pass your guard. I don't go like, okay, guys, I'm going to go pass this guard. And if it doesn't work, I'm just going to try harder. I don't do that. I start passing your guard. It doesn't work. I attack the foot. You protect the foot. You've exposed yourself to a guard pass. I'm trying to create a dilemma. And when I'm playing that game of passing and breaking, attacking the foot, breaking, attacking the foot, it exposes the neck. And then I dive over the top and I jump on the neck. Now I'm on the neck. Check out my guillotine video, guillotine traps. Very important sequences in that video. Can you recommend any books on cardio? Okay, guys, I'm only doing, save that question for later, Alec. I'm only doing questions on back control. We're going to do a good few minutes on back control. I don't know how many minutes we're in now. Let me see. 25 minutes in. We're going to continue with back control. And then after that, I'm going to be talking about absolutely anything. We can talk about cardio all day long. Okay, no problem. But for now, guys, button pusher 40. I will never do another 40% discount. You guys saved me a couple of weeks ago. You guys came, you button pushers rallied for me. You guys hooked me up. You saved me. You came to my rescue. Thank you very much. This is my way of saying thank you, guys. I'm not a very sentimental guy. I don't know how else to say thank you. So I said, you know, I'm going to do 40% off for one day. Okay, so from now till tomorrow midnight, you guys have 40% off. Buy as many as you want. And now Jiu-Jitsu Club is streaming. Don't worry about how many gigs you're going to put. You don't have to download it. You can download it if you want, but you could stream. So you make an account, you log in, and every video you bought is there. You click it and you watch it as many times as you want and keep it for life. Okay? Keep it for life. Watch that video, watch that video, watch that video. Don't worry about your hard drive. Your hard drive doesn't need to be full. Okay? Because this video that I made is an hour long, and it was like 7 or 8 gigs. I'm like, it's too many gigs. Because I took my time to really, and I wanted a higher quality. The videos are going to get more quality and more detailed and maybe even a little bit longer. But don't forget, Jiu-Jitsu Club videos are supposed to be just straight to the point, okay? Straight to the point. Here's how you do the move. 1, 2, 3. Here's this concept. This is how I describe it. There's no filler. There's no long video. There's no long introduction. There's no long outro. There's no fancy, like, there's no bells and whistles. It's just instruction. Pop, pop, pop. It's a 1-hour video. It's equivalent of a 4-hour seminar, in my estimation, okay? I've given many seminars, and I would say, look, this is the amount of content I could get through in a 3-hour seminar if the students are advanced. You know, let's say they're all purple belts. Obviously, with white and blue belts, you don't go as far because you got to keep showing them the same move again. They didn't get it. You know, but if you go with your seminar full of black belts, advanced belts, you know, so where you have purple, brown, and black, you're not going to take 45 minutes to show them armbar. They already know armbar. Okay, so in my estimation, if I was in a seminar with advanced belts, this is all the information I can get through in at least 3 hours. But in my estimation, Control Freak Volume 1 is a 4-hour seminar. Is the back still king? I talked about earlier in the podcast. Yes, in my opinion, the back is still the king. Joshua Fabio. Guys, I'm only doing back now. We're almost done. Okay, get a few more minutes on back control. I don't want to leave anybody hanging. If you guys want to talk about the back control for a few more minutes, we'll do it. I don't know who Joshua Fabia is. Hold on. I'm actually interested because I heard that name recently. Not sure what that means. Hold on. Joshua Fabia. Oh, God. No. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Diego Sanchez's coach. Okay, we'll talk about that later, guys, please. But for now, let's talk about back control. Newest instructional, the Control Freak, is out. Uh-oh. I think one moment, guys. Small technical difficulty. I'm right with you. Hopefully I'm still live. Okay, I'm still live. Coach is still live. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty. Pardonnez-moi. You guys know me. I was recently awarded my purple belt from you guys as a button pusher. A very honor. Honestly, I don't think I'm deserving of the belt. I feel like I'm one of those guys who's like, he's trying to fill the shoes of a purple belt. I think you guys overestimated my ability of pushing these buttons here. I'm at episode 85, and I'm still making, like, I think still beginner mistakes. I haven't mastered the art by any means of button pushing, but I thank you for all those of you who has brought me to the purple belt level. I'm very grateful. For us, do you armbar from the back? That's from Gipu. Yes, but only if I'm running out of time. So if there's a minute left and I got the guy's back and I tried, it's been 3 minutes, I have his back and there's a minute left, I start thinking armbar, because armbar is like, I'm letting go. I'm letting go of the back and I'm going for the kill. Why would I do that if there's, let's say, 10 minutes left on the clock? If there's 10 minutes left on the clock and I'm on your back, there's no way I'm transitioning to armbar. And I mean, unless you give it to me for free and I can't miss, I won't. I'm going to prefer trapping your neck. I'm going to get to the neck. And attacking the neck is a whole world of details. And I go over it in Control Freak. So pick it up. I guarantee you your back control is going to go up. And your submissions from the back are going to go up, okay? Volume 2 is going to be coming out very shortly. What are the hierarchies of submission from the back? So that's from John Doe. 1 is the rear naked choke, of course. 2, katakatami, arm triangle, which I also go over in the video. Arm triangle, for sure. For sure. It's the one position that I would say I would let go for the, I would let go of the back to get to katakatame. Many of you call it arm triangle. Because I can get on top of you and burn you out. I can fatigue you to no end. Okay, so I do go over something called the collar hitch in the video, where I'm fighting somebody who's really good. He took out my legs. He stripped my hooks, so my feet are no longer controlling him. I'm not able to mount him again. I'm not able to. I go to the collar hitch. I hitch the collar. I get up on top and I put the squeeze on him in a way that's very comfortable for me and very uncomfortable for him. Coach, have you rolled with Rafa Mendes? Can you get more details? Coach, you rolled with Rafa Mendes. Yeah, Ivan. That's from Ivan. Yes, I did. Now, talk about a master of back control. Rafa Mendes is a master of many, many things. But his back control is absurd. Like, it's just so good. Like, the guy's incredible, man. He's a 6-time world champion. For those of you who don't know who Rafa Mendes is, you're new to jiu-jitsu, go on YouTube later and watch Rafa Mendes. The guy is pure technique. What was my role like with him? Well, it was very educational. I learned so much. And the number one thing that hit me the most about Rafa was his movement. Like, I've rolled with many great black belts, but his movement was almost like ghost-like, like you put your foot here, but then he went there. And then you want to regard, then he's back there again. He's like almost teleporting. And like, you want to confront him, you want to grab onto him, and you want to smash him you want to like pin him with force. He's so hard to grab a hold of. I found like he's always moving in a way that's deflecting your grips, and he's like parrying you off, and he's kind of like slipping and sliding through the cracks. He's not a head-on fighter, which is brilliant. That's how it should be. If your technique is so pure, you would be like a Rafa. And especially I don't want to say his passing, because his guard is so good, is equally as good, but he's very impressive with his ability to move from one position to the next effortlessly. And he always finds his way to the back. And his armbar, in my opinion, he's the greatest armbar guy ever in jiu-jitsu. In my opinion, okay, guys. There are other great arm collectors, but in my opinion, and I'm the type of guy, I don't get armbarred much. Like, I haven't been armbarred in a long time. Not trying to brag here, but it's not a move I worry about as much. But when you roll with Rafa, guess what? You're going to get armbarred. It's a matter, if you roll with him, you're getting armbarred. I guarantee you, you're going to get armbarred. He's an armbar genius. Are you familiar with Prit Mikkelsen turtle guard work? Do you think it will work for MMA or only for BJJ? That's from Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu, he actually reached out to me very recently and told me, invited me to his podcast, which I accepted. I'm not sure when his podcast is gonna launch, or if it launched already, but I'm supposed to be, hopefully, his first podcast guest. Yes, I've seen his work. He's a brilliant guy. He's very, very detailed. And I've seen him online. I've seen his free videos that he gives out. Guys, I really recommend you sign up to his YouTube channel. He gives out a lot of intelligent and well thought out content, and he specializes in defense. So, all of us have to specialize somewhere. Nobody knows it all. Nobody knows it all. Nobody knows everything. And if you're really keen on taking your defense to the next level, I highly recommend Prit's work. J Shields, Coach, what is that underhook side escape that you refer to in the collar hitch? Underhook side escape. What are some preventative measures that you can take into controlling his hip as he is being ready to clear the legs? Well, it's very hard to describe. Now, the collar hitch is something that it's very close to a 3/4 Nelson, when you lock your hands like this. So everybody, when we take the back, we all lock our hands like this, okay? Where I do a maneuver where I lock my hands like this, and I kind of climb up on your body because I lost control of my opponent's hips. My legs are no longer controlling his hips/thighs. And I definitely don't have a triangle. Once I lose that, I oftentimes, not always, but in particular circumstance, I will convert my seatbelt into a hitch. And that's going to allow me to pull myself forward, like if I was doing a pull-up. Again, it's very hard to describe. You'd have to watch it on video. And you asked me what I'm referring to when I'm saying preventative measures. Okay, so look, I see what you're saying. When somebody's escaping, the first thing I want to do is never let him. So when I have a seatbelt, so imagine I have your back and my arms are in a seatbelt position. I never want my opponent, I have his back, I never want him to grab my hands. Because that's what I call tug of war. Okay, so watch this. if my opponent is super strong, and there are guys out there that are freakishly strong, and if you're wrestling somebody much bigger than you, they could just grab your hands, and it's a tug of war. Can you keep your hands together, or can he rip them apart? Well, guess what? I'll tell you something. There's somebody in the world right now that could rip your hands apart. There's somebody that's strong. Okay, I don't care how strong you are. I don't care what you like. There's only one guy in the world today that can lock a seatbelt on you and nobody can unlock his hands. There's maybe one guy. There's maybe one guy. Why do I say that? Because that guy would be strong enough to rip it apart. So I don't want to get into a tug of war. I don't want it to be your hands versus my hands and who could squeeze more. So what I do is, as soon as you try to grab my hands, I go into my sequence of chopping and controlling. Okay, it's very early on in the video. Chopping and controlling your hands. I never let your hands connect to my hands. Not in a way that's acceptable. Only in ways that are acceptable. There are ways that are unacceptable. Why? Because he'll separate my hands and start escaping. So the preventive measures is really trapping, locking, using the rest of my body to control his arms and not allowing them to lock my hands together. Some ways to execute baseball choke. That's from Has H. Well, that's more of a gi move. Okay, I don't go over the gi in this video at all. How does someone with short legs control someone from the back? That's from Oscar Sedeno. Well, you know what? If you have short legs, you can do everything except triangles. That's precisely why I left triangles out in this first video. Because everything in this video is for everyone. Now, the next video is going to have triangle. Sometimes I can triangle a guy and sometimes I can't. Why? Sometimes the guy's too big for me to triangle. His waist is too big. Maybe he's very, very overweight. Guess what? You're not triangling him. I'm going to have the same problem as somebody with short legs. So sometimes somebody has a thin waist. It's a joy to triangle their waist. It's so easy to close a triangle, and I can even squeeze them and take air from them. Wow, this is great. In this video, I show one triangle, and this one triangle, I call it the zip tie. It's an adaptation of triangle. You're actually triangling your legs and crossing your feet in a way that protects you from any counter leg locks or whatever. And also it gives you the benefit of back control, a triangle control from the back. Any recommendations for preventing Solo or Burrows scoop back escape? Listen, the scoop back escape, when you scoop under the leg, 2 arms under one leg and start running, I think this is great if the opportunity arises. I personally only do it if the guy who's behind me is riding high up my back. Okay, he's really high up. Now I'll scoop, and I'll tell you, I don't do it very often. Now, the only reason I do believe in the escape, because I felt guys who have a good underhook, double underhook escape. I felt it. I've learned it back in the day. I believe it's a very, very good move. However, it's not one that I do on a regular basis. My preferred escape is to shrimp and take out the bottom hook and get my back to the floor and slip into a leg lock, ashigurami. So you take my back, I'm looking to leg lock you. Okay, but first I have to escape my hips, of course. When you go double unders, like you scoot to the back, I feel like it takes a lot of power. I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, I was learning this escape and I was doing it quite successfully. And then I remember I rolled with Rashad Evans. And of course, he's much bigger than me. And I had tried it. I had double scoop, and I was like, oh, I'm going to just get out of here like I normally do. And he locked his legs down, and he shut my double underhook down. He was just, obviously, he's much bigger than me. And he just kind of pinned me, and it took me a lot of time and energy. And I was like, if this was a fight, I would be dead here. So I started thinking, you know, because all my techniques are also, I want to convert them to MMA, right? So anything I do, I train Jiu-Jitsu, but I think MMA. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. It makes a lot of sense to me. I do everything in Jiu-Jitsu, and then I say, look, is this absolutely necessary, or is there another version that's more MMA friendly? I really believe in universal Jiu-Jitsu. Your Jiu-Jitsu should work in the cage, in the street, in IBJJF, everywhere. Every rule set, my Jiu-Jitsu has to work. Okay? That double underhook thing, running out, scooping out, I think is good if it's given to me for free. The guy's riding high on my back. Now if I double underhook, no matter how strong he is, he's so high up above my waist that even if he locked his guards, I'm gonna come out. I used to go get it. The guy was low on my legs, and I would go reach for it. Guess what? Big mistake. It's very low leverage. You're extending your arm. So what I'm trying to say, in the right circumstance, it works beautifully. In the wrong circumstance, it can backfire if somebody's stronger than you. Learn that about every move. Every move has pros and cons and has strengths and weaknesses. I like the solo escape. However, it's not a universal escape. It's not my first escape. It's a niche escape. It's a particular escape I use for a particular scenario. If you ask me to teach somebody a back escape, I wouldn't start with that move, because you'd have to be in a particular circumstance to use that move. That's somebody who's really into jiu-jitsu, man. He's doing jiu-jitsu as a living. Okay, that guy, I'll show him that move. If you give me somebody who's training 3 times a week, I'm never going to show him that move. We will never need it. I'm going to show him the standard, most likely, the most basic positions. That's what he's going to find himself in. What's the point of knowing a move that happens in such a rare instance? Okay, it's beneficial if you're fighting other jiu-jitsu masters and you're earning a living like that. Fine, that makes sense. Or your pursuit is to master jiu-jitsu to the fullest extent. But if you're happy with being a purple belt and you're just doing it to stay fit, you got a wife, kids, career, you're a lawyer. You're not a jiu-jitsu master. You're a lawyer. You're a farmer. You're something else. You do jiu-jitsu out of love. Okay, it's recreational for you. Guess what? We're not going to get in the crooks and crannies, the niche, the back pages of the catalog. We're not going to go there. Why? Because you need to master these prime issues here. What's the application of the truck in MMA? That's from S. I'm a big believer in the truck. I think it's great. It's very important. And actually, I go not into the truck, but I go into twister hook and lockdown from the back. Do you prefer the hip post versus hooks for lower body control? That's from Jay Shields. Jay, you're on fire today. I like to get my feet posted on the hip. Hooks in the middle dangling around there is an easy escape, guys. If you're asking me, hold on one second. I got to plug this computer in. I forgot to plug it in. Guys, for me, that's an easy escape. If you leave your feet dangling there, look. Hold on one second here. Guys, I think personally, if your feet are dangling around, they're not at the hip or they're not neatly closed in a triangle, a good escape artist is going to escape. I'm not a big believer in keeping my feet just hooked in the thighs. I go over this in the video as well. Okay, it's very important to get your feet at the hip and packed away. Very important. Okay, guys, what else do we have? Hey, coach, when you start learning BJJ, should you learn gi or no gi? That's from Sparog. I prefer no gi first and then go into gi. Why? Because you don't always have, you don't want to build your base, you don't want to build your whole game on grips you might not have. I build my game on the most minimal grips. So you're going to have to learn collar tie, 2-on-1. You have to learn all these no-gi grips so that when you have the gi, it's all your grips still work. But now you have these new additional options. Whereas if you learn gi first and you start mastering spider guard grips and sleeve grips and then all of a sudden I strip them from you, your foundation is vapor now. You're trying to grab for things that aren't there. And I find that a lot of guys have hurt their game this way. I met my coach since I was 15. I met my coach since I was 15 and Iranian wrestler. This is from Zarak. I meant my coach since I was 15 was an Iranian national team veteran. My wrestling sucks after lockdown and moving country. Oh, okay. So Zarak, you're claiming that you are an elite wrestler and now you've lost your wrestling. Best ways to get back to where I once was. The only wrestle 2 times a week here. Okay, Zarak, if you're only wrestling 2 times a week, me and you both know you're not going to reach the same levels you used to. If you want to be a world-class wrestling practitioner, you and I know you need to train every single day. I've never seen anybody train twice a week and become a world-class athlete. I personally have never seen it. So, Zarak, what I suggest is you rearrange your schedule and do what it takes to train every day. Okay, guys, we are now 45 minutes in. We can open it up now to any topic, gentlemen. Let's talk about absolutely any topic. Quick update. I started a gym union Fitness is your right. I'm not going to stay on this long, guys, because I want to keep this channel about MMA, mixed martial arts. You guys know Coach has been butting heads with the law. You guys know Coach has been fighting with the man. Okay? And you guys know how I feel. I'm really pro organizing our gyms so that we can train in a safe and legal manner and not let these politicians bully us around. You guys saw me in my other episode. I was really angry with the politicians. I was calling them weasel and I was all that. And you know, it's not like me. You know, I have to be really mad for me to get to that level. You guys know this about me. In the link below, in the description, there's a Fitness is your right. If you're a Canadian gym member, if you're in Quebec or Montreal, sign up. Okay, I'm happy to report we're nearing, we're going to be at 200 signups very soon. And my goal is 500 gyms. I don't care if you're a yoga studio. I don't care. As long as you're in fitness, sign up. Fitness is your right. And then I'm going to get our gyms, our union, legal representation. 500 gyms, one legal firm that represents all of us. And then we go knocking on our politicians' door and we tell them, hey, we're sick of being pushed around and we're not scared of your fees and we don't want to spread COVID, but also we want to be like other businesses that are open. We want to be given correct rules that make sense, that allow us to train in a way that's safe and convenient, even if we're only operating at 5%, 10%. We don't want to be at 0. We want to be at whatever makes sense, where we can train and not transmit COVID. Okay, there are ways to do that. I could schedule 10 jiu-jitsu classes of groups of 5. Imagine that. 10 jiu-jitsu classes a day. That's 50 people that train. 50 people a day is better than 0. Okay, now I have other strategies than that. Okay, that's not the best strategy I have, but I want to do weekly testing for members. If you're vaccinated, you're in our system. We want to get intelligent about it. Sign up to Fitness is your right. My goal is 500 gyms, guys. If we get to 500 gyms, I'm going to make a lot of noise for gyms in Montreal. And when I say gyms, that's anybody. Fitness studios, yoga studios, anybody. Sign up. Fitness is your right. It's not trying to make money off gyms. Believe me, this is not. We're trying to make money for gyms. We're trying to make gyms be viable again. I really hope we are organized very shortly. Okay, gentlemen, we got a lot of super chats that popped up. Oh, no. Actually, no, I did that one. Are you a better fighter now than when you were in your physical prime? When I was in... What do you mean, was in my physical prime? What are you trying to say, Mr. Jesse, playing with your life here? Don't make me take off my... what's this again? My smiley dog shirt, okay, gentlemen? Not was in my physical prime. Is in my physical prime. Who would win that fight? Younger with more energy or older with more skill? All right. I get what you're saying. When I was 25, I was probably a little bit more quick, more energetic, let's say. Honestly, I don't think I have been in better shape. That's for sure. But I think personally, I could still get in that physical shape. Now, a quick answer to you. When I'm 40 versus me 25, my 40-year-old self will crush the 25-year-old. Crush, destroy, smash, obliterate. I guarantee I'll beat him. 100%. Because I've learned so much since then, and I've learned so much through just experience. I'm going to see him coming a mile away. Why? Because it's not because of the physiology. It's because what was cutting edge back then is like passé now a little bit. If my 25-year-old self trained in this day and age with the techniques we have now and the training methods we have now, he would beat me. Probably, yeah. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It's like the jiu-jitsu back then, the wrestling we understood, how we understood it then, the striking was difficult. It's not like boxing and Muay Thai didn't exist. It was how to train it all. We've learned new ways to get so much martial arts in one person. We've learned new ways to teach somebody wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, and conditioning all at once, is what I'm trying to tell you. Our methods of training, not that boxing didn't exist, and okay, I know more about boxing than I did back in the day, but I was still very cutting edge back in the day. You know, knowledge of studying boxing, jiu-jitsu. Like I was really, doing it often, like studying it all day, like training all day, like working with different great trainers. But these boxing coaches, these wrestling coaches, these conditioning coaches, they had never done MMA before, so we were not sure how to put it all together in one workout. Or in one art, I should say, not one workout. Nobody was doing it in one workout. Today we have so many smarter ways to go about it. So I'm training more intelligently, and in terms of management, and also especially when it comes to jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I would say because the thing is, jiu-jitsu's gone such a far way. It's gone so far. Plus, it's now interrupting the wrestling. If you shoot a double leg on me, you might get guillotined. Like, the guillotines have moved so high, so far. The guillotine game. The leg lock game. Now, if you want to take me down, you might end up getting leg lock, where we didn't have that back in the day. You took a guy down, it wasn't that scary, the leg lock. It wasn't that... The guillotine was scary, but not as scary as it is today. Today, the scary guillotine is like... It's dangerous, the guillotine. Really dangerous. Salam, coach. I've been doing bodybuilding for 10 years, and I would like to supplement it with BJJ since I am losing mobility. How would you distribute two sports in terms of days and weeks? Abdel Hafid. I personally would do jiu-jitsu, and then I would go lift weights. But listen, you got to be ready. You got to lose some muscle. If you're doing only bodybuilding and now you put jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is a lot more endurance. You're going to have to make your peace with losing a little bit of muscle. Now, you're going to want to maintain it by lifting weights after it. So I would finish my jiu-jitsu session. I would have a protein shake. I would have a little break, and then I would hit the weights. Or I would take the protein shake as I'm lifting the weights, and I would have some carbs in there. And I would slowly increase my jiu-jitsu. So I would maybe do 1 hour technique with the coaches, like the regular class, and I would maybe roll 1 or 2 rounds, body build, eventually end up rolling 4 or 5 rounds, and then 6, 7 rounds, and then body build. Okay, this is quite my routine. I actually do this a lot. I finish training and then I go lift weights. Why? Because I want to maintain muscle. Because jiu-jitsu and MMA and boxing and wrestling, all that stuff is very high endurance. You've been rolling around for 45 minutes. You've been, you're sweating. You're doing a lot of cardio. It can be catabolic. You have to be careful with that. Is Stoicism a good philosophy for fighters? That's from Ruiz Lepe. Well, yeah, it's very good for the mind, definitely. But I think that's just one aspect of philosophy. You need to branch out in all and kind of like get a feel for what's out there and then decide for yourself. Is there a better deep half guard applicable for MMA? I see guys there and take damage since their hands are occupied and their head is exposed. That's from Sweet Baby Bladefoot. I agree with you. I've seen so many guys get killed in deep half guard. And I think to myself, it was such a bad option. Like, that's why I would always talk about universal jiu-jitsu. Train MMA, train jiu-jitsu, train wrestling, train boxing, but think street. Think in your head, what would I do in a street altercation? The guy training jiu-jitsu, he wasn't thinking MMA. He was going to jiu-jitsu class. He turned off his MMA brain. He rolled. He learned some new habits. And that habit got him in trouble in MMA. If he never went to that class where he learned deep half guard, he would have done better in that fight. Now, I think deep half guard works. But you're like, coach, you just told me don't do it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that particular guy didn't learn enough half guard. He only knows a little bit of half guard. Deep half guard, I should say, not half guard. Deep half guard, you got to know a lot of deep half guard for it to work in a real fight. You have to know, there's so many details to deep half guard, which me personally, I don't do much deep half guard. It's not my game. I've trained with some deep half guard masters that I trust their deep half guard is super dangerous. And I trust in MMA fight, their deep half guard is going to work. Not mine. Mine I don't trust because that's not my position. I personally don't use it. I only use it as a transition, and like if the guy's giving me so much space that I can sweep underneath real easily. I use it in very few circumstances. The guy has to be like widening his legs so much that like I'm gonna pass through here. Like it's got to be a wind tunnel. But some guys, they find a little crack and they sneak their way inside and they're shimmying their way inside. Dude, in my opinion, you're going to get knocked out. By the time you finish shimmying, I'm going to have to hit you with 4 or 5 elbows. And believe me, I've seen guys get messed up with this really badly. In my opinion, unless you're ready to dedicate your life to deep half guard, like you're ready to put in 10,000 hours in deep half guard, then you have deep half guard will work in MMA. But if you're not, don't touch this witchcraft. Don't touch this magic. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. Why? Because knowing a little bit of deep half guard or knowing even a lot is not enough. You need to know everything about deep half guard. You need to make deep half guard like your living place. That's how intricate deep half guard is. Personally, I find that there are other positions that I can flow to that are just as good, if not better, that are not as sensitive to the little details. Because deep half guard, if you get a little bit wrong, it doesn't work. The code is very, very sensitive. The touchpad is very sensitive. Whereas butterfly guard or inverted guard or like just a knee shield is way safer, less intricate, and in my opinion, more effective. So that's why I gravitated to that for me. But I gotta say, like, listen, there are some half guard masters out there that would get me retreating, running for my life if they so transition to the deep half guard position. Now, look, I know a lot of deep half guard counters that I'm very comfortable with, but there's a few guys out there, not in MMA, honestly, maybe only Ryan Hall, only guy in MMA right now, unless I'm forgetting somebody really important. But in my opinion, only Ryan Hall will do this. Every other MMA guy, if he went deep half guard on me, I'll just beat the hell out of him. I'll be smiling and happy. If it was Ryan Hall, I'd be running for my life. I'll be like trying to twist and turn in the wind here. I gotta get out of this position because this guy, he knows everything about deep half guard. He knows what you're thinking before you start moving. He already knows. So you have to be very careful with these guys because they're going to end up getting on your back, choking you out, or breaking you. But I see so many half guard wannabes, so to say. They're on that road, but they haven't put the lifetime, the 10,000 hours in deep half guard. Deep half guard is a universe, guys. It's very particular. I don't care if you got 4 or 5 instructionals. It's not enough, man. You gotta. That's not even a third of what's deep half guard. That's not even a third. There's so much more to it. That's how I feel about deep half guard, guys. I might be crazy. Some of you might be like, Coach, it's crazy. You know, I do the half guard all the time. Do it in MMA. Then I'm talking about look. I could do the deep half guard and. All right, I'll struggle underneath, and yeah, I didn't pass. I didn't get. Sorry, maybe the guy didn't pass. Maybe I didn't sweep. It was a struggle. Okay, good. Whatever, it was good. No, we're talking about MMA. If you go deep half guard and that guy's punching you in the head, it's because you know what? You don't know that the guy has stability. Stability could turn into punches. It's just a deep half guard master will never give you stability. You need to know a lot to stop a guy in MMA from hitting you. It's possible. Just most guys biting off more than they can chew. Thoughts on sandbag training, like 150, 200 pounds. I read old school wrestlers did the wrestling strength conditioning with them. That's from Stephen Lule. Stephen, I'm a huge believer in sandbag training. You just hit the nail on the head, man. I love sandbag training. I think it's amazing. I'm actually very motivated in doing sandbag training. I actually wanted to start doing sandbag training workouts for you guys because I do so much sandbag training. I absolutely love it. In my gym, I have 4 or 5 sandbags. At home, I have a sandbag. I do everything. Look, I use every equipment in the world, almost every time. I'm high on variety, but I love sandbag. Why? You're right. Wrestlers did use it. Why? Is it because it's cheap? No, not because it's cheap. That's a great bonus. But because when you're grabbing a heavy sandbag, you're squeezing it like you would squeeze somebody when you're wrestling. There's that isometric hold. And now I'm walking with it. I'm climbing upstairs. I'm throwing it. I have that explosive. You could do Olympic lifting with sandbags. Think about that. You could throw it. You don't need expensive bumper plates. It doesn't even it's not even noisy. You throw a sandbag over your shoulder. It's ballistic. It's better than Olympic lifting. Why? Olympic lifting bar, you could throw it up in the air, but generally speaking, the classical lifts, you're not throwing the bar in the air. You're catching the bar. To catch the bar, you have to slow the bar down. Okay, so with a sandbag, I'm throwing it. It's ballistic. I'm not trying to slow down at all. I'm following through full power. The sandbag is unstable. It's difficult to grab. There's so much you could do with a sandbag. I am a huge believer in sandbag. Try this for a workout, okay? Take a sandbag, chuck it over your shoulder, right shoulder, then chuck it over your left shoulder. Do that 4 times. 4 right, 4 left. Run 400 meters. Pick up that sandbag, squat it 5 times, and repeat the process. Chuck it over your shoulder 4 times, squatting down, chucking it. run 400 meters, pick up that sandbag, squat it 5 times. That'll be a crazy workout. You could do so many military style workouts. And wrestlers aren't crazy. They figured it out. It's an amazing tool. I'm actually developing my own system, how to make sandbag training more efficient, like how to make it more relevant to MMA guys. I'll probably shoot a video shortly and put it up, like what I like to do with sandbag. Sandbag is so good for wrestling, guys. Think about it. Some of the best wrestlers, they were farmers. What do farmers do, man? They're just like picking up buckets of slop. They're picking up bags of feed. It's farmer work. It's strongman work. And in my opinion, that translates more to the field, meaning more to your sport. Who would win a match between Gordon Ryan and Khabib? Pound for pound, grappling match, Gordon. MMA, no doubt Khabib. Hold on 1 second. I just got a message here. Uno momento, please. Okay, so Tony Ferguson is now fighting Beneil Dariush. That's a nice matchup. That's a very, very interesting matchup. I didn't know that was actually on. Let's see the date here. What's the date? May 15th. Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to that, actually. You asked me, will he retire if he loses to Beneil Dariush? Sorry, I missed your name. I don't know if he will retire. I doubt it. I think he's just going to reassess and keep fighting. I don't know if he loses that match. I hope he doesn't come out like the last 2 times, of course. You never know with Tony Ferguson. I heard he's training with Freddie Roach right now. That might be very good. I'm sure he's a very smart guy. I think he's going to restructure. It's going to be an interesting fight. That's what I want to see. Are we going to be seeing the old school Tony? Don't forget, the man won like 14, 15 fights in a row in UFC. I mean, the guy is something special. He's just been on a slide right now. His last 2 performances were not great, especially the last one. It looks very, very strange. Sometimes that's due to something that's fixable, and sometimes the guy never figured it out. I think Tony Ferguson, I know he acts crazy and all that, but he's a very intelligent guy, in my opinion. I know he says crazy things. I'm not going by what he says. I'm going by how he fights. I know it seems like chaos, but that man is using chaos as a weapon. Okay, it's not chaos. He doesn't know what he's doing. No. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's using chaos as a weapon. That's a scary thing. Okay, he's a hard to predict guy. I have no idea what to expect this fight with Dariush. Dariush has been going up. Ferguson's been going down. So traditionally, what happens? The guy going up wins, and the guy going down keeps going down. At this stage in their careers, okay, at this stage, because Ferguson's had a lot of miles put on his career. Ferguson's had a tremendous amount of fights and injuries. Okay, so hard to say. But he's a very intelligent guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he's a clever guy. Thoughts on over-underpass? That's from Bladefoot. Sweet baby Bladefoot. I don't do it a lot. I think it's a very good passing system. There are some over-under passers that put me through hell. Like, they're so good at it. It's scary. But the reason why I don't do it is because in MMA, again, I'm training Jiu-Jitsu, thinking MMA, the guys just elbow me. And sometimes the guy's legs are so strong that a small guy like me, I'm getting overpowered by his legs. Don't get me wrong, it's a high leverage position and it's a beautiful passing system. I just preferred other passing systems. That's it. And I feel like when I'm passing, I want to be able to punch you and leg lock you. Whereas you're going over under, you cannot punch and you cannot leg lock. The most scariest thing, if I was in an MMA fight and the guy's passing me over under, the scariest thing is off the table, which is what's the scariest thing? Him punching me. Boom, connecting a good shot and hurting me. Passing the guard, you got to side control. Well, guess what? There's a lot of good ways to stop the ground and pound from side control. And I can re-guard and get up to my feet maybe. I have good options. But if you're over on top of me, punching me, that for me is the scariest thing. So the over-under passing, I feel it commits my arms. I can no longer leg lock you, so I took that off the table. And I took off the most important thing where I can hit you. So it kind of takes away the most powerful weapon. I'd rather stay in your guard and punch you 50 times than pass your guard and have you regard and me pass your guard and have you regard. Why? Because when the bell rings, you go back to your corner. Yeah, I passed your guard. Yeah, I won the round, but you're coming out relatively unharmed. If I punch you 30 or 40 times, guess what? I've softened you up for the second round. Though that damage was cumulative. So it's just more aggressive for MMA to pass on your knees, on one knee, or standing up. Because you can influence your pass with a lot of striking. You can add that striking. Whereas over under, there's no striking. He can hit you more than you can hit him, which is another major downfall. A negative, I should say. Salam coach, what should be your weight training lifts regimen to complement BJJ? That's from Wasim. Wasim, because lifting is, that's a very good question. Because lifting is complementary to what I'm doing, I'm going to use the compound lifts. I'm going to do deadlift, squat, box squat, which I like very much, pull-ups, bench only, high speed bench. Those would be the lifts. But even better than lifts, I would use athletic movements. That's why I love sandbag, med ball throws, kettlebell swing, rowing. Okay, now rowing is not lifting. You asked me about lifting specifically, but I would actually, wait, did you ask me about lifting? Training lifts, weight training lifts. I like the Olympic lifting if you're well trained in Olympic lifting, or use Olympic lifting hybrids. I like Romanian deadlifts or partial Romanian deadlifts. I like all the basic lifts. But what I like more than the basic lifts is athletic movements. Okay, like hurdle jumping, med ball throwing, dead balls. You know those dead balls, there's like 70, 80 pounds. You can pick them up and squat them. I prefer lifting something that's not, I have nothing against weightlifting. I do it also. But I prefer athletic movements. Training athletic movements, like a shot put. I take the med ball, I shot put it. Boom. I'll do that 10 times, do the other side, boom. Then maybe I'll drop down into 10 jumping squats or 10 split squats. Or I might do 50 V-ups, and then I might transition to something else. I love athletic movement as exercise better than just lifting. Lifting is good, but I wouldn't do just lifting. Coach, what do you think about bottom game in MMA? In UFC, we have less bottom submissions compared to top or ground and pound. Tactics, it seems less effective. Should I focus on bottom game or stand up? That's from Fashisi. I think you need to have it all. There are very few guys who have a good bottom game in MMA. That's the truth. Okay, so the intricacies of the bottom game have not come to MMA as an en masse. There's a few guys out there who are really good at it, and there's a lot of guys who are just okay at it. That's why you see a lot of getting up. The problem with the bottom game, the reason why it hasn't been so developed in MMA, is because of the time limit. If there was no time limit, MMA guys would spend a lot more energy on the bottom game. But because they know that if they get taken down, they got a few minutes on the clock, and beating an experienced guy from the bottom at 3 minutes is not a lot of time. I need 30 minutes maybe. So Jiu-Jitsu in MMA was developed in Vale Tudo in Brazil, where there was no time limit. The fights would go on until somebody gets subbed. So it didn't matter if the wrestler was doing lay and pray. Today it matters. That's why you see a lot of guys getting up to their feet. Why? Because I don't want to let this guy lay and pray. Whereas if I had unlimited time, I would just let him stay on top of me. No problem. I'll just protect myself from the strikes. And there are very intelligent ways to protect yourself from strikes on the bottom. And if this guy wants to take me down, he's just wasting his time because his jiu-jitsu is not good enough to beat me. That was the mentality of the Vale Tudo guys. So what, a wrestler took me down? So what? The fight ain't over. There's a lot of guys who won fights that would have lost them if there was no time limit. That's the truth. I don't care what you say. And lo and behold, Nick Diaz would probably be the most dangerous guy in MMA if there was no time limit. Or Ryan Hall, or these guys who are so good on their back. But you can hold them down and kind of like pray for your life until the time runs out. And okay, I grappled with him. You see that? You didn't really grapple with the guy. And you're playing the time. It makes sense. Listen, that's the rules. I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that these guys or that the rules are unfair. I understand that people don't want to see a 2-hour fight. I get that. My suggestion is that we make it a 15-minute fight. What's with the break in between, guys? I don't understand. Why are we stopping so two guys are fighting, and we're like, okay, time. Let's give these guys a little break and give them some water. Where's the logic? Now, I agree. I assume, excuse me. I assume it has to do with betting. Okay, they fight, they stop, let the odds have changed. Like, they're excited to bet. I assume that's what it is, because in Thailand, that's what it is. Right? People are betting between rounds. Why did this fight stop? Oh, betting. That's my guess. Okay, I'm not telling you guys this is a fact. I have no idea. I'm assuming it's that. What other reason would they come up with that? Why don't you just let the fight finish? Why? Like, what's with the rounds? Somebody explain it to me. I would love to hear it. I've never researched it. I'm just guessing here. I'm just assuming like the Greeks were fighting pancrase. There's no way they had rounds. They might have. I would be shocked if the Greeks in pancrase had rounds. I'd be shocked. Like, I could be wrong. Somebody send me a link or something. I have a feeling they didn't have no rounds because supposedly the sport was so brutal that rounds would have been seen as like cowardly. Like, why would you give a guy a break? Why are you giving this guy water? Why? What's the point of that? That guy's gonna fight for his life. You're gonna be fighting the Persians, and all of a sudden we're gonna have a water break. The Persians are gonna allow us a water break. I doubt the Greeks thought it that way. No, you're in a fight to the death. You get yourself out. I doubt the Spartans were like, okay, guys, time, water break. I don't even get, like, it's so ingrained in our culture that we see it as normal, but it's absurd. The guy was on top of you, punching you, and then, oh, beep. Stop the punching. Let's start all over again. That's insane. It's an insane. It's. Think about how much the minute break has influenced fights throughout MMA history. How many times have we seen a guy winning a fight? The bell ring or the horn sounds. They stand them up, and now the other guy wins by the punch or some insanity. But he would have never got out on his own, or unlikely. But the state interferes, gives them a water break. Some other guy's there to tell you what to do. That's insane. That's insane. Okay, I understand. They're yelling at you at the sideline. Okay, fine. That. But why stop and interrupt? Have somebody repair the cut. But the cut was part of the other guy's road to victory. Okay, I understand. It's more humane. Let the fight just finish. Let the fight just finish. Like you. Sometimes it can also be equally less humane. Imagine you're getting beat up and you're saved by the bell. Well, guess what? The referee was just about to stop the fight, but now he's going to give you a second chance. You're going to get more of a beating. I don't understand the minute round. I find it also, it spoils a lot of the jiu-jitsu action that we would have seen. Okay, sorry about that rant, guys. You know me. Sean Kovarik. Hey, coach, last time you mentioned hate speech laws, and I said that I thought freedom of speech was crucial above all. I'm curious of your opinions. Sean, my brother. Very nice topic. How deep are we? Minute 13. We banked in another show. All right, let's talk about hate speech. Mr. Sean. Guys, you know what? Here, let me advance this. Guys, I do believe in hate speech. I believe that you shouldn't be allowed to say absolutely anything you want. Okay, now here's why. Please don't mix me up with somebody who wants to censor you. I don't want to censor you. I don't. I want you to say absolutely everything. If you think that the Lebanese, I'm Lebanese, are the most inferior race in human history, tell me. I want to know. I'm actually curious. I am not scared of anything you have to say. Say absolutely anything you want. So why do I have that stance? And then I have also the stance, hey, hate speech. Don't be hateful with your speech. Why? I'll tell you why. Let me do it with a thought experiment. I don't want to talk, and I talk too much. I know, I'm a guy who talks too much. Imagine some old lady coming home with her groceries. And this lady, she's of a particular ethnic descent. Black, white, pick whatever you want. Green, black, whatever. Yellow, any color, pick any. And some kids walk up to her, they smack down her groceries, they insult her ethnicity. They're obviously hating on her because of who she is. She did nothing wrong. She committed no crime. Now, let's say they don't smack down her groceries. They don't. Let's say they just insult her. I personally, let's say I'm walking down the same street and I see that, I'm going to intervene. There's no way I would intervene. If you guys want to know me, what kind of person I am, there's no way I won't intervene. I'm going to intervene. And it's going to be a problem. I'm going to walk the lady home. And if those guys don't stop, I'm going to throw a punch. Now, am I wrong to do that? You might be like, hey, no, coach, you're coming to the aid of a young woman. An old lady. And some of you might think, oh, it was heroic what you did. It was virtuous what you did. It's courageous what you did. Some of you might be like, hey, no, man, they have the right to voice their opinion. In my view, it's good. It's not me. Somebody comes and intervenes and protects the weak from the strong. I think it's good. It's morally good. We could talk about why in a future video. Yeah. When hate speech is the same thing. Hate speech is basically, instead of an MMA coach coming in and intervening, we call the police and we charge those guys with what? Hate speech. We charged them with hate speech. Why? Because that's what they did. They rolled down their window and they insulted her. Maybe let's even put more distance between them and her. They're harassing her. They're insulting her. They're ruining her day. They're trying to make her life difficult. And when a citizen comes to the rescue, it's virtuous. But when the state comes to the rescue, oh no, it's censorship. Now you're gonna be like, hey coach, I wasn't talking about harassing people. I agree with you. If we're in a dialogue or a debate, and you want to tell me that you believe Lebanese are inferior, let's say you want to go full eugenics on me, I wouldn't censor you. I would not. I would not. However, if you want to go in our everyday life and start insulting people, let's say a child of a particular ethnicity was walking down the street, and this happened to me as a kid, by the way, FYI. When I was a kid, I would walk 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, there was a lot of tensions between ethnics and the French Quebecois in where I live in Quebec. Okay, so the French Quebecois, predominantly white, wanted us out. Not all of them, of course not. Listen, today we're very much more harmonious. There's a lot less racism, in Quebec than in the U.S. In my opinion, I've been all over Canada. I've been all over the U.S. And when I come to the U.S., man, I feel the racism. I feel it, man. It's so much stronger. It's a more powerful force. Canada is much better now. Much, much better. Still some racism, no doubt, but much better. In Quebec, I would walk around and people would insult me. I was a young kid, maybe 10 years old. I was a particular family on my block. Every time I rode my bike past them, the kids would insult me and the parents would laugh and smile. The parents were like, yeah, screw you. Now, I don't want to get into the benefits Quebec has from having immigrants. You know, immigrants pay taxes. Quebec has gotten rich off immigrants. That's a topic for another day. And of course, it was mutually beneficial. It's a beautiful relationship. Immigrants in Quebec / Canada, we have a beautiful relationship together. It's working. This experiment is really working. But I was a victim of hate speech. I would have loved if the state could have come in and intervened. It was wrong what they were doing. And nobody ever intervened. I literally never had anybody come to the rescue. And it was happening all the time, persistent. One time I went to an area where there's a lot of French people. My wife is French Canadian. And I almost got into a huge fight one day. I almost got into a huge fist fight. Because I went to a festival. It was it's like their Super Bowl. It's called Saint Jean Baptiste. It's their day, man. It's their day now. It's their day, but I'm gonna come too because I'm married to a Quebecois. I married one of them, and I had an infant son, 2 years. I'll tell you something. I had an infant son, 2 years old, in a baby carriage. I went to go get some food, and I was going to get some food. Some drunk guy came up to me, like put his face here, and he was like really, he wanted to kick my ass. And I looked around, and I saw all his friends. They all want him to jump me. And I bought my things, and I was like, man, if this guy even touches me one little bit, man, I'm gonna put him in a. Listen, I was fired up, but I walked out. I walked all the way, and they were like, they were so happy to have like pushed me away, but they didn't touch me. I swear to God, if he would have touched me, I would have been like, I don't know what I would have done to him. Like, it would have been the worst day of his life. I was hoping. Listen, I was collecting my things. I was hoping, man. Oh, man, just let him touch me. Please, let him touch me. I'm going to put this guy in a world of hurt. He didn't. He was wise enough not to. But it was so much hatred. I got back home. I walked like 50 yards to my wife and kids where they were sitting. I'm like, pack up. Let's go. We're leaving. Why? Can't be here. People are drunk. I'm the only like non-Quebecois, I'm Quebecois, but I'm not Quebecois, and don't get me wrong. The vast majority of French Quebecois here would hate that behavior. They would be disgusted from that behavior. Like, I got up and left, and my other Quebecois friends my wife's friends and all that, they were so upset with what happened. But I was like, no, there's no way I'm staying here because I have my kid here. If I didn't have my 2-year-old son with me, I would have stayed and I would have hoped they come see me. I would have hoped. But hate speech laws protect the minorities, the weak of the society is what I'm trying to say. If you're going to say something against another race or that could be construed as hate speech, do it in the university, do it in the arena of the intellectuals. Do it. Let us cross-examine you. Now it's not hate speech. Now you're talking fact. You're talking truth. Okay. But do it in front of us, the schooled. Do it in front of those who are schooled. Let's see if you're logical. Let's see if you're... It may be true that Lebanese, I'm Lebanese, that's why I'm using Lebanese, okay? May be the most inferior race in all human history. Bring us your proofs. Bring us. Let's sit here. Let's cross-examine you. They never do it because they know they're going to look so stupid. They know they're going to look like imbeciles. So what they do is they vent their hate on the weak. That's why I believe in hate speech laws, because it ultimately protects the weak. And if you tell me, no, it's only free speech, and if you critique free speech in the least, you're harming me. I'll say, look, in the university circles, free speech is carte blanche. When it comes to the everyday people, they're going to use it as a weapon to attack the weak. And if you're the type of person who calls 911 because you see somebody being racist, then you just agreed with me. You just agreed with me that somebody should intervene from this hatred. There's hatred being... Because that guy who put his face on, he thinks that he's in his primitive mind, in his Neanderthal brain, he thinks he's defending his state. Which we call it province. You guys wouldn't understand what... Okay, you guys understand province. He thinks he's defending his province from an invader. Which my parents came here perfectly legally. We pay taxes. I guarantee you I pay more taxes than him. I guarantee you he benefits from my hard work. This guy in his primitive little brain, he thinks that you guys are coming here and you're going to bring your culture and language. And you're going to bring... So what? Wait, you think French was the first language in history? French is a new language relatively. It came from these languages, Latin and so much. It's an evolution. Just like your language will still evolve, guys. They're trying to live in the past. Oh, we want to make the world like it was 50 years ago. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. That's your business. I'm here living in the present. I'm going forward. You want to live in the past? That's your business. What does that have to do with me here? He thinks me being here is preventing him from some great joy he would have. Well, that's his business. I came here legally. If I came, I broke the law. Yeah, okay. Send me to jail. Expel me from the country. I came here legally. My parents came here legally. So you will have these Neanderthals who are going to use freedom of speech to create hate. But I give you the caveat that you could say anything you want, so long as you do it in an academic sense. Do me a favor. Imagine you go in university right now and you stand up in university and guys, I have a great argument. What's your argument? These N-words are the most inferior race in the world. By the way, I've been called this term. So if you said that in university, they would kick you out because you couldn't put it that way. You have to put it in an academic way. You have to put it in an academic sense. You have to say, look, in my assessment, these people who descend from this Phoenician descendants have a flaw in their genetics, and here's my evidence. You got to have the evidence. And then us, we're all going to critique you. We're all going to critique you. We're going to critique you. And if you can withstand our critique, wow, we're going to be like, this guy, he brought us something new. But 99% of hate speech, 99% of it, is just pure venting from Neanderthals. Can you show me one intelligent guy with hate speech? Even Sam Harris, in my opinion, guys, I'm going to cross-examine him shortly. He claims he's being super intelligent. In my opinion, a lot of it, I wouldn't censor him, by the way. I'm not trying to say I should censor him. He's in the academic world. What I'm saying is his logic is not standing up to scrutiny. He's not doing it hate speech. He's flirting with the hate speech, guys. He's doing it in a way that, look, guys, clip this guy's wings over there. You know, he's kind of... What can I say, man? I have to get the quotes, but he's talking about... He even mentioned... I know it's going to be very particular. It's going to be very controversial I say, but he even talked about nuclear strikes. He even talked about going nuclear. It's the unthinkable option. Some of us will call that dog whistling. Here I put it on the table, but I'll never think of it. Why'd you bring it on the table? There's even, we have to talk about dog whistling, guys. Dog whistling is a real thing. I'm telling you something that you know, and me and I know the PR way. We cannot say it. We can't come out and say it. But I'm talking to you in a way you understand what I'm trying to tell you. And it's happened in this channel too. For those of you who know this channel very well. We dog whistle. We tell people something in a way that nobody else will understand, but you can't pin me to it. He's doing it in an academic sense. That's why I wouldn't go and censor him. He should be debated, cross-examined, or whatnot. But a guy who's going on the street, putting on a sign and like cursing people, that's just stupidity. This is just bringing in violence. You're instigating violence. Okay, guys, we are an hour, 26 minutes in. Now you got to define academic. Didn't I rant enough? Okay. Academic is you're bringing in evidence for us to cross-examine. You're practicing inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. You're practicing rationale. You're bringing us a hypothesis with evidence for us to cross-examine. You're giving us a claim for us to cross-examine. You're not just telling us that Lebanese are inferior. You're not opening up our mouths and ramming it down our throats. You're not coming in with some cool chant. You're not coming in with propaganda. You're coming in with rationale. You're defining what inferiority is. You're defining what a race is. And then you're telling me, look, this race is inferior. Because I personally tell you, I don't really believe race is a thing. I don't believe personally. I believe races. Don't get me wrong. I believe races exist, but I don't think race exists the way everybody out there thinks. People didn't come from a different planet. I think we're different shades of ice cream. Okay, we're different flavors of ice cream, but we ain't. It's not ice cream and spaghetti. We're all ice cream. Everybody's the same fundamental thing. There's just different flavors. Some people are trying to say no. We're ice cream and they're stone. It's a totally ontological difference. They're from a complete different genealogy. It's like, no, man, that's non-factual. Race is more about geography than it is about species. Race is more about geography. That's how I see it. These are good points, but my issue is I don't think it ends there with the government. Soon it will lead to censorship of more things. That's for my friend Sean. Sean, that's a great retort. Now, the government, we're feeling it now, aren't we? The government, you're right, needs to be policed. But that doesn't mean, because look, here's the thing, Sean. This is such a good point. I'm scared. I used to never be scared of the government. I used to think, the government, whatever. I don't have time. I don't have time for even the smallest amount of politics. I'm not interested in politics. I'm too busy living my day-to-day. These days, during Corona, I'm worried about the government. Sean, you are right, man. Look, I always knew it was real. Don't get me wrong. I never said. Look, I've read history. I've read history books. Okay, I understand the government has done some bad things. They've done bad things in the past. I was just talking about in my day and age. The government was being a good boy. He's just staying out of my way. Now they're all over the place. And I agree with you. They need to be put in control. I believe in small government. I would love to have a discussion one day with somebody who really believes in complete freedom, like no government, anarchy, so to speak. There's different versions of anarchy, but like meaning no government. We just govern ourselves. I'm not talking about communism. I'm not talking about the highest level of communism where people just live as a commune. I'm not pro-communist at all. Don't misconstrue my view. I'm saying like no rules. I do what I want. You do what you want, and nobody tell anybody what to do. I would love to have a discussion with somebody who's a how do we say again? A libertarian. There's different types of libertarians, but somebody who come with a good definition of what they are, and we have a fun discussion. Because in my opinion, I believe in high degrees of liberty and small government. Small government. The government overreaches, yes. If you have a big government, all of a sudden your freedom of speech can be halted, controlled, etc. If the government is small and we have more guns than he does, or there's a balance of guns. Guns, I mean power, not literally guns, and that's part of the equation. Actual literal guns is part of the equation. I don't want the balance of power between the government and the people to be too lopsided. So I don't want to be North Korea. They got all the guns, the government's got all the guns, and we're told what to do. And I don't want it to be too chaotic the other way. The government is so weak and he's so helpless that he's just easy. He's basically part of the crime ring. It's just all show. There's no government. I don't want to name any countries because people get offended. There are some countries, the government he's a puppet. He's bribed. He's controlled by the mob. He's under their thumb. He is the mob. He's just a branch of the mob. And what's the difference between mob and government? That's another story. What I'm trying to say is we should have hate speech laws. And also another challenge is controlling the government. Keeping the government a relative size and with only a relative amount of power. Because they always find some crisis to give themselves more power. They always find some crisis. Hitler did it. Oh, this embassy burned down. Oh, it's the Polish. You know what? Give me temporary power. We don't have time to adjourn. We don't have time for this. We don't have time to follow the due process. We need to act now. People do these kind of the government has done these kind of things in the past. We have to be very careful with this kind of stuff. Show me an instance where governments took power and gave it back. Show me an instance in history. I personally can't think of one. There may be, but they're far and few between, and probably they might not even exist actually. Yes, does intelligence grant one more rights? That's from Francis. No. However, because don't forget, Socrates hated democracy. Why? Because he's like, now you're asking the everyday Joe to make decisions. Why don't you ask? Socrates made a great point. So I'm not against democracy, but listen to Socrates' point. Socrates was against democracy. Socrates despised democracy. Socrates says, look, if you're sick, do you go around the neighborhood asking everybody their opinion on how you should treat your ailment? No, you go to a doctor, you go to a specialist. Why on earth, when it comes to political issues, do we ask the world? The world, I mean Athens. Why do we go and ask Athenians? Why? He's like, it's dumb. They're going to give you a dumb answer. They're going to give you an answer that's ridiculous. And he's right in one way. The problem with that is if I trust these doctors, it's funny that he uses that example, and today it would be very fitting because today doctors are telling us what to do. This was my argument when I made my whole video about why they're going too far with all these lockdowns. And I had a few white knights come out and say, hey, coach, you're going to cost us lives. Dude, I'm not asking anybody to do anything illegal or cost lives. What I'm trying to say is, what is their evidence? What is their proof for these lockdown measures? Because my whole argument, what these white knights didn't get, was I was saying, look, this one politician, Gabriel Nadeau, was asking for a public democratic debate, and they refused him multiple times. Now, once, twice, because it's not convenient, but the third, fourth, you must accept debate. You must accept cross-examination, because you're affecting all our lives. And if you don't accept cross-examination, we're not going to obey, or we're going to force you to cross-examination. You cannot put our lives on hold. The government's life is still going. Do you think these guys in the government are missing any paychecks? Do you think their lives have been affected at all? Do they have skin in the game? They do not have skin in the game. So these politicians maybe are benefiting from this lockdown. Well, I can imagine many ways in which they can benefit. That's why we have to ask ourselves, when we go to the doctor, I'm going to make a strong point about this in a second, okay? Does he have my interest at heart? If I was his son, would he give me the same amount of time and energy to get really to the root of my problem? Or am I just another number? And he's got plenty of other patients, so he's going to give me a small amount of attention. He's going to come out with a preliminary scenario of what I should do to become healthy, and that's the amount of thought he gave to it. That's the argument here, is we're saying, look, yes, they're doctors and we want expert opinion, but they're fallible. Yes, that's not even my point. My point is are they interested in helping me? Or do they have other interests They have other interests that they're pursuing. I'm so low priority. Let me give you a great example of this. There's a phenomenal book written. It's called Black Box Thinking. If I had to make a list of my top 10 favorite books, this would be on there. People always ask me, what's your favorite book? Black Box Thinking by Matthew Syed is one of my favorite books. And he compares, you guys are going to find this weird, okay? He compares the aviation industry with the medical community. The book starts off with a story about a true story about a woman who goes and gets a routine surgery. The routine surgery goes wrong. She dies on the table. Now, her husband was a pilot. And he was like, okay, he obviously is devastated. They had kids together. It's a very devastating time. The doctors were like, look, it's a 1 in 5,000 chance. It just so happened to fall on her. She died. I'm sorry. He's like, okay, where's the report? He's looking for the black box. In aviation, if there's a plane that crashes, they find the black box. And they learn from that crash, and they do whatever it takes for it to never happen again. He's like, okay, he was looking for the medical black box. He's like, okay, where's the report? It's like, the medical community was like, we don't make a report unless you sue us. So he's like, fine, I'm going to sue you. So he sues them. He gets the medical report. Now, this is a minute-by-minute description of what happened in that operation room. They have to interview everybody that was there. Everybody has to give their deposition. And it's written out. Here's the minute-by-minute what happened. And he's looking at it. He's a pilot. And he goes and he gets secondary opinions, and they're like, look, this was preventable. This was preventable. They should have had this protocol in place. And then Matthew Syed likens how the aviation industry went through the same process. They had all these horrible crashes that happened, and they learned from every one of them, and how they shared the information, etc. Now, the medical community is lazy as hell in comparison. He's like, look, this pilot, he did a documentary on what happened to his wife. He showed them the different protocols that they could have followed. Of course, he's not a medical doctor. He's using medical experts to do this. And then that documentary was released, and doctors started emailing this pilot saying, look, you saved my patient's life. I was in the exact same scenario that doctor was in, the one who his wife died on the table. He's saying, look, I was in the same scenario, but then I thought of your documentary, and I was like, no, I'm not going to let it happen to me. And he took a different route than he would have. But he would have never thought of that if he hadn't seen that documentary. So basically, this pilot proved that the medical community needs a black box. It's a brilliant story, guys. It's not a story. It's a book. It's a factual book. I'm not doing it justice. It's such a good book. And Matthew Syed hypothesizes why doctors don't have a black box. Well, one, they have no skin in the game. If a plane crashes, guess what? The pilot crashes. He dies also. Here's something else also you need to know. If a plane crash happens on a regular basis, people won't want to fly. Guess what happens to the aviation industry? They go out of business. This is what we call having skin in the game. My skin is on the line, but so is your skin. So think twice. Think about it. If I have cancer, think about it if you had cancer. Look, I have one of my friends. A very sad story. I'm not going to give any details, but his mom had a cancer and they removed it, but they left a little trace amount that they didn't get, and she died from cancer. I'm leaving the details out. I asked him, look, did you do due diligence? Did you take her to a second doctor? He's like, no, I didn't. I said, you know what? If I was you, I would have done due diligence. I was trying to encourage him because he has cancer in his family. Whenever somebody has cancer in your family, don't trust one doctor. Get his opinion, go to the other doctor. And when he operates on you, go to another doctor. This guy do it right. This is due diligence. I want to know that did these guys serve me right? Why? Because I'm aware that this doctor of mine, I'm just a 30-minute block in his day when he goes and he does the follow-up. I'm getting in the way of his next patient. I'm in the way of his next dinner. I'm in the way of his, he's got life going on. He's a human being. If it was his cancer, would he have triple checked, quadruple checked? If it was his wife or his mother's cancer, would he went far and beyond? Would he have added more testing? I think the answer is yes. You're more likely to mess up my life than you are your life. Why? Because your life, you have a whole different, and I'm not saying it's wrong. We're all like this. Like, for instance, like we all want to help other people, but when it comes to our personal problems, we spend more attention on them. Why? Because everybody's got their own personal problems. I'm not waiting for somebody here to take my problems on like if it was their problems. Okay, maybe you have a very close friend or a family member, and yes, they treat your problems like it's their problems. Yes, I understand that. and it could be a beautiful thing. But on regular, my doctor, he's distracted with his own day-to-day life. This book, Black Box Thinking, proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's actually funny because he talks about the first physicians to wash their hands. It was so hard to get physicians to wash their hands because they didn't feel it was necessary. Because when they would deliver babies, it was a very messy thing, obviously. And they're like, one doctor linked all these babies and all these women dying from delivering to dirty hands. In the book, he describes how women had a better chance of survival if they gave birth outside of the hospital in rural areas. He's like, why are they dying in the hospital? And he linked it to patient contamination. Then he asked doctors to wash their hands and they refused. They're like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. But really, if it was their wives dying, and this is maybe one extra inconvenient step that I can use to save my own wife's life, you know what, I'll take it. But if you're asking me to save some stranger's life, I might not care as much. I might just think, hey, you have no proof of that. So it's all mindset. It's exactly what Socrates was trying to convey. He's saying, look, everyday person doesn't care about politics. He's just thinking, hey, how's that going to influence me? He doesn't think about the greater good of Athens. So when it comes to trusting experts and politicians and all that, I want to know that they have skin in the game. I want to know that they're not benefiting personally from these decisions that they're making. How much did the Bush family benefit monetarily from the Desert Storm Wars? From what I understand, they made billions. Is that fair? Did they use a loophole to make themselves rich? If so, I think they should be jailed for that. You cannot, in my opinion, and I know there are laws, but there are also loopholes to every law. The doctor needs to have my best interest, like if it was his own interest. But that's not the case. However, if there's a black box and something goes wrong, and then we go and see, did you do everything correct? You know what? You're not a good doctor. You could have saved this guy. You cut corners. We need to hold them accountable. If you don't, be prepared to live like a sheep. That's why I do believe in freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not the ultimate answer. We also need to cross-examine them academically. Slogans and all that, yeah, they can make a change, but they're temporary. And they could take us in the wrong direction. Okay, guys, with that said, an hour and 42 minutes in. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. Guys, check out jujiclub.com. Button pusher 40. 40% off. Videos are now streamable. Get 5 videos. Don't worry about your hard drive. It's all streamable. 40% off. It'll never happen again. I'm telling you, I'll very likely never do 40% off again. And it lasts till tomorrow midnight. After that, it's a $5 off only. It's going to be a new promo code. Guys, I enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys did too. And I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you.